Hey, what's up? DFS Rico coming at you with my picks and insight for this LCK 2-game slate on Tuesday, April 28th on DraftKings. There's not a lot of information on this. I can kind of break down what it is for you, but because two of these teams, if you've been playing League of Legends, you'll notice, which is Sandbox Gaming and Team Griffin. So since they were the two worst teams in the LCK during the spring split, the regular season, they got relegated and practically have to earn their spot back into the Summer League. So them two are playing against the other two winners that won like practically the promotions to get into the tournaments, the qualifiers technically. You got Cerebral Gaming, probably butchering that, and Team Dynamics. So SRB actually won that league. Like the promotions, Team Dynamics went second. SRB didn't have to play like in the playoffs. They kind of just got in because they had the best record in that league. And then Dynamics had to practically win 2 matches to get in, which they ended up doing. And then you got Sandbox Gaming and Team Griffin, which were relegated. Technically, they're, like I mentioned, they have to earn their spot into the playoffs. The only issue that I'm finding with this slate, the same thing we've always had with the LCK slates, is we never know who's going to start for these teams till like 30 minutes before the slate starts. So that's the only issue. And some of these teams have a ton of players on their roster, like all of them, but Team Dynamics have subs for every position practically. There's only some teams that don't have any subs, but which I'll show you guys right now. So if you look at this, these are the rosters for the 2020 LCK Summer Promotion for each team. If you look at this, what I'm assuming as of now, that the guys on the left are the starters, and the guys obviously to the right of them are the subs. That's what I'm hoping off. That's what I'm banking on. Because once you lock in, you won't be able to swap your players. And we don't really know who's starting. But one thing we also know about the LCK is that they like to sub a lot. Like if someone has a bad game, they're willing to make subs. So that can happen in this because they are playing best 2 out of 3. And these guys are practically playing to try to get in, I mean, there's a winner's bracket and the loser's bracket, so they will have 2 shots at it. But it's hard just because you don't know who's going to play. But as of now, I'm assuming the guys are on the left starting. Don't take my word for it. I will be playing the guys on the left myself, so I don't know. I'm not going to play too much today just because I don't know who's going to start. I'll just go through them really quick. Dynamics, like I mentioned, doesn't have any subs. So they're probably the safest if you actually want to play really, really safe. Maybe they win. You never know. And then you got Griffin. You got Unterra, top lane, jungle, Tarzan, Nayun for the mid, Viper for the bottom, and support with Irove, which is weird because they just added Wadid to the roster sometime this week. So I don't know. They might add him to play, but as of right now, it looks like he's not starting. This was released yesterday, and they added him to the roster like 3 or 4 days ago. So I'm assuming he isn't starting based off of this. Well, I hope that's correct. And then you got Sandbox Gaming. A lot of these names are obviously familiar for these two teams because we were playing probably against them in this last split season, the regular season. So that's what I'm going off of right now, but don't take my word for it. But like I'm mentioning, I am going to be playing as well. Just not as much because it's not so safe. But we'll all be on the same boat practically. So hopefully you got a good look at that. If you didn't, go ahead and rewind it. But I'm not really going to go through too many players. Not really any at all, honestly. I'm just going to go and give my insight. Sandbox Gaming and Griffin are practically ex-pro teams. If I was to bet on this, I was looking at recent history for like all the recent spring promotions and summer promotions, and at least one team gets in. There was a time when 2 teams got in as far as the guys that were like SRB or Dynamics, the guys that qualified into this, not the 2 teams that are going to get relegated practically. So it's usually one team wins. So if you're like off of recency bias, you can kind of, if you predict that kind of stuff or you like to go off that kind of stuff, looks like there might be an upset, like just going off of that. And I mean, Sandbox and Griffin are here for a reason because they played bad all season practically. But they do have the experience and they do have, like previous professional experience. So it kind of feels like if you are going to be playing, and everyone's priced so close. So like if you are going to be playing the safe game, I honestly suggest playing the favorites which in my opinion are Sandbox and Griffin, the guys that are priced a little more and the guys that have played in the scene before. Me, if I am going to take an upset, I am going to be taking SRB versus Griffin. And I will probably just be playing Sandbox Gaming with SRB. But today I think is a good time to play GPPs, just because cash is going to be kind of funky. But in cash, I would just recommend playing SB and Griffin, honestly, in my opinion. I play more GPP, so like I said, I'll probably play SRB and SB together or something like that. I should be able to fit them both together in like a 4-3 stack. And this is a 4-3 stack day for me. Like, that's really what I'm going based off of, just because you have to be on the 2 winning teams, to even make money. If you practically bet 1 winning team and 1 losing team, you probably won't qualify for much money. So I'll practically just be playing, honestly, a little bit of SB and Griffin and SRB. That's pretty much it. I guess you could play Dynamics as well, but like I mentioned, they got in here not as easily as SRB, so SRB is a better team. SRB is playing the worst team from the LCK, which was Griffin, and then Dynamics has to play SB, which was slightly better, I guess. And Griffin did finish the season a little good, though. I mean, they won 3 of their last 4 matches, which isn't too bad. Sandbox Gaming practically lost their last 3 matches, so I don't know. It'll be iffy. Like I mentioned, today to me is a slate where you just kind of take a chance. And like I mentioned, the rosters are so just janky that you don't know what's going to happen. But go back to the roster just so you can see them. Kind of just play the guys that are assuming to start on the left is what I would recommend for each team, whether you 4-man stack it or 3-man stack it. We don't have too much history on these teams against each other, at least. We know what Sandbox and Griffin did in the Pro League. They were the worst teams, but they still had to qualify at one point as well. So they're not the worst teams, I guess. There could be worse teams. They've at least won games versus some of the best teams. So as I mentioned, SB and Griffin will probably be the safest way to go, in my opinion. And then finding a way to sprinkle some of these other guys and some other like GPPs is the way I would go. But that's all I really wanted to talk about. I don't really want to go through the rosters just because, like I mentioned, we don't know who's going to start. But I'm assuming the guys on the left are the ones that are starting. So just go with those guys for now. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Subscribe and like. Appreciate it.